All right, Dr. Mike, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you, Dr. Tran?
I am good. It's been a couple of weeks, if not months, since we've chatted as well too. So so this is no better time than the present, and than to get reconnected. Not only with you, but also uh, the amazing work of Dr. Thurman Fleet with concept therapy. And I know that you've been busy in practice. I've been busy in practice. We've been busy with family stuff as well too. But no, so I'm glad that we have the chance to reconnect and kind of just dive back in to see what's been on your mind, what you've been able to apply to practice from Dr. Thurman's Fleet's work. And one of the things that I love that you've been doing is continuing to post on a regular basis within the Facebook group. What is it? CT Applied for Healers as well too. So what's been going on?
Hey, I've had a lot of fun. And through everything, I think since the last time I posted, last time we talked, I really started diving into the idea of there's only one real subluxation on the body.
Okay.
That's it. And everything else is a compensation. And so I went down that pathway because I really think that's what D.D. Palmer was after.
Mhm.
Like, I think, because I actually pulled out the 1910 chiropractor adjuster and I was paging through it last night. And you look at it and he's like, look, if someone's, what was one of them? It was wild. And he's like, oh, you just T12. And I was like, how many guys a day you ask them, what do you do for this? They're like, oh, you just go T6, just go to the right, it's fascinating, right? Because this guy he had some absolutely miraculous things that he did. And all those early chiropractors had these just crazy good results. And I was always like, wondering, like, how did they do that? And I think I finally figured out how they did it. And that's why I call it kind of the one technique, because you really only need to adjust one bone.
Right.
And so far, what I've seen in practice out of it was fantastic. I just had a young girl in here before we jumped on. She came in, migraine headache, didn't want to get out of bed, all over the left side of her head. She had sensitive light, everything else. Ironically, we did adjust T12, and she got off the table, was completely gone. Everything was completely gone. She's like, it's eliminated. Didn't even touch the neck. Didn't have to. And
Right.
so cool things like that always excite me and make practice way more fun.
Yeah. So, I dabbled in upper cervical for a while in my first practice, where I was knee, chest, upper cervical. And, one of the books that we were always told to read within the green books was, the subluxation specific. Right. And with BJ Palmer chasing the hole in one. And is that going to be one of those similar concepts as well too? Or is it going to be like where what you're finding is that, hey, it's not really necessarily the subluxation within the spine, but also, so to speak, the subluxation within the mind?
Yeah. So the way I've approached it is that you can use any technique you want. Like, you don't have to, if you want to use zone, use zone. If you want to use upper cervical, you could use upper cervical, although some of the connections might be a little trickier with an upper cervical, but you could still do it. But you can use SOT, AK, it doesn't matter. The idea behind it is that the mind is displayed on the body. That's what we're seeing. When someone comes in and they got low back pain because they got money problems, we're really treating that. People are like, oh, we got to treat the lower back, we got to do this and that. But you really got to treat that issue that's in the mind. But to me, that expression on the body is all centered around a specific location. And then all the symptoms the person has are a result of that one spot being subluxated. So it gives a different credence to a subluxation, because now a subluxation is a very definite one particular place in the body. A person, in my understanding and what I figured out, is you can't have 5, 6, 7 subluxations on a person at one visit. There's only one.
Mm-hmm.
And but if you think about your training, where we look at neurological input, say a T12, you got kidneys that flow into there, ovaries and uterus, you're going to get some branches out of that. You're going to get some branches that hit prostate, small intestine, large intestine. So you got some overlap. Now, one of the ideas I pulled from is If you ever heard of someone having a heart attack, they get pain down their arm.
Mm-hmm.
The idea behind that is spillover at the cord level. It's in the research. You can go look it up. It's there, where there's such a chemical signal that comes in from the cord, it bleeds over into other areas of the spine, and it acts like there's a signal there when it's really not. Well, I took that idea and it just extended it out. What if that occurs everywhere throughout the spine and in any condition? Well, now it gives us ideas as to how we can have multiple symptoms that all occur at one level that may not even seem to be connected, but if you can start to reason through it, you can see how it is.
So are you saying the one technique, what percentage of it do you feel is more focused in on the actual application within the spine versus some of the work that Dr. Fleet focused in on with the subconscious?
So the idea behind it is it's almost really not a technique. It's more of a philosophy on how you're approaching a person.
Mm-hmm.
Like the idea behind, but I just call it technique because I mean that's what we look at. But it's a philosophy of the person has one primary subluxation throughout their body. That's it. That's all you really need to treat on a visit is that one spot. Everything else will straighten out. Now how we pull CT into that. What we know is that the subconscious mind works by pictures. That's well known. You can search it anywhere. They're gonna show you that. Now, if you just go and adjust that one area, you only do it mechanically and you don't give them any sort of picture to go with it, it's going to only produce mechanical results. So if they have a lower back pain that is mechanically induced, but they also have, say, a prostate and bowel issues, if you adjust mechanically, they'll get better, but the other things won't.
Mm-hmm.
And so they'll be left with, they'll be left with a prostate issue. They'll be left with slow bowels, but their back pain will be gone because the idea that transferred was only a mechanical idea,
right?
Because the doctor's still going to deliver a picture, whether they're aware of it or not, but they've really limited the ability of the spirit to have enough, that innate intelligence to have enough latitude to be able to correct other things that may be at that level as well.
Mm.
So when we bring CT into it, that's really helped me to really understand that if I can correlate everything that person has to this one level that they're struggling with, then I only need to adjust one area, but also that's part of the picture. Because as soon as this area is moving, everything's healing. And the person knows that from the first visit. So I really give them that picture of how everything's tied to the spot on that first visit. And as I release it, all that stuff's going to begin to disappear.
Right. And then, so how long now do you feel like you've been working with patients in your office in this fashion?
I really honed in on it about, I would say October or November. Mm-hmm. And then I was trying to figure out how to introduce it more or try to, it's always an evolution process. So as I figure things out, I'm constantly evolving through it. So in the last month, I would say where I really got it down, where I know that the picture I'm trying to deliver, because I actually stem some of the information out of Couillet's work. If you've read anything by Emile Couillet.
Not yet.
So Couillet's famous saying is, every day in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I've heard the saying. Yes.
Yeah. So that's his big image that he wanted everyone to get. And so I took that kind of same idea and then I crafted an image that I give to each patient. So I give them a big image every time they come in, along with, okay, so I'm going to find your one place. And then now I'm going to give you this big image that's going to be broad enough to cover any problem that's going on. And I'm watching some really cool stuff change.
Yeah. So just for the folks at home and the people in the back. So do you have any kind of some good wins that some patients have had so far that, off the top of your mind?
Well, I had one patient come in. This one was wild just because of what he came in with. He said, I have to tell you a story to tell you what's going on with me. And I said, well, that's fine. So he came in, and this isn't unusual either. He came in because his wife had originally come in. She came in because she had high blood pressure. Like, that's her reason for coming in. I got high blood pressure. I want to treat it naturally. Like, sweet. So when I go through everything, I found T3 on the left side was the issue. And I said, look, this is going to tie into your elimination system, because I still use Dr. Fleet's zone technique with it, because I feel like it's really easy to convey kind of ideas across.
Right.
And so I said, this has to do with the lungs. And I did palpate her pectoralis muscle that goes with the lungs, and they're very tight, especially on the left side. I'm like, look, your heart's on that same side. So it would make sense that we're getting an overlap at this cord level. So I started adjusting her there. Her blood pressure has been coming down, but she's had this tightening around her neck for 20 years, and it's letting go. So we got this tightening that's letting go around her neck. Her blood pressure is coming down. And she tells me the other day, she goes, I'm having a lot of sinus stuff that's starting to come out. Well, if you know zone 2 from the zone technique, that's sinus congestion. It started to happen to her without me even telling her anything about it. Right. And then she started telling me she's getting all this cramping in her intestines, and she's wondering what that's about. Well, if you go look at the zone sheet that Dr. Fleet wrote, that's on point number 4. So without me even telling her, all these things are starting to change in her body. And that's been in 3 adjustments.
Right.
And so then she brings her husband in. Her husband's a skydive fanatic.
Okay.
He was about 100 feet up in the air, and his parachute let go. And so he goes into the ground, bounces about 8 feet in the air, and goes again, and lives through it. And I'm like, okay, so you're a walking miracle. There's no way you should.
100%. Yep.
So he's telling me about all the surgeries and operations he's had, and had to like get all this stuff in his pelvis, wires and nails and whatever else to kind of hold it together. And so he his neck was broke, and he had to get just all these things redone. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, like, what can I can't really manually get in there and do some things on this guy, because his like pelvis was shattered and his neck was broke. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter if you really understand what Fleet was saying. And so I lay him down. I find a C6 on him. He came in because he feels like he's going into the fetal position, kind of like down like that. That's his reason for coming in. He's like, can't stand up straight anymore. I'm going down there. I find a C6 on the right side. I adjust it. He comes in for his second visit, and he's like, I have no idea what you did, but he goes, I was standing straight with my shoulders back every day since. And he goes, I got hungry for the first time in 5 years.
Wow.
And I'm like, shoot, that's a win to me any day of the week, so he's all very excited. He's, I saw him today. He was way better today. He's feeling great. His hearing that he's been losing for years, it's starting to come back.
Right. No, that's amazing, and where are you based out of again?
Sarasota, Florida.
Right. So, and that's the thing too. It's people have all these types of fascinating issues and, like difficulties and stuff like that, anywhere in the world. So, I mean, we can really take these, this idea, this philosophy, this technique, and just help a ton of people. And, I know one of the things that we're kind of working on in regards to just bringing a group together to basically workshop these ideas that you're working through right now. And, I think that's one of the things that, I definitely have a tendency to do, and I'm sure no one watching this or listening to this has ever done this, where, you get really excited about something that you learn and you think that you can help a lot of people, but then life gets in the way. And responsibilities, obligations, and some, maybe even some mental challenges as well too, of just staying focused and really diving deep rather than going wide. And I know there's some people in the group that may or may not have taken a concept therapy course, may or may not have taken other courses that are similar to that, but just have not really applied the work. I've not really dug deep, and that's what I'm personally looking for, is a group that can hold me accountable, and also a group that I can start really workshopping and drilling this work. Because at the end of the day, I mean, like, it's life or death for some people. A lot of these people end up in our practices where they've tried everything. They've gone the medical route. They've tried Eastern medicines and all these different things as well too, but they probably have heard something special about one of you guys in this group because of a referral or some amazing results. And I want to be as prepared as possible to be able to deliver the goods and just help people get the results that they're looking for. And, once again, like, hey, if, I'm also the first person to say that, hey, if it doesn't work out after a couple of visits, let's try something else as well too. Let's, so I'm very grateful for the group where you can post in questions to get help, to get other opinions of different strategies of how to create a better image for certain people as well. So, yeah. So anything else you want to kind of talk about the one technique? Anything else like you've been brewing, or have you thought about when you would want to have something?
Well, I've thought about that quite a bit, and I moonlight as a high school basketball coach, and our season
Right.
just ended, so now I have more free time, and I'm trying to put it together because put something together because what happens with a lot of techniques is you get someone that created a technique, and they went through a process and they arrived at why they do certain things, and it's logical to that person, but a lot of times those steps that they took to get there isn't communicated to the next person that's doing it. And because it's not logical to them to do it, they'll do the technique for a little bit, but they won't get the same results as the person who did it,
Right,
who invented it. And so a lot of people, they'll jump through techniques, or what they'll do is they'll get frustrated because they haven't seen the results through adjusting that they want. And then they'll start to gravitate towards a decompression or a shock wave, or you name your latest, greatest tool, or a laser tool out there. Now, do all those things work and help people? Absolutely. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying, though, is that they've gotten frustrated because with the results that they got from adjusting, and they're looking for other avenues to get the results that they really want to get through adjusting. Because I think, and it's my perspective, that chiropractors, they want to adjust, and they want to adjust, and they want someone to get better because of adjusting, not necessarily because of like a tool of some sort,
right,
or something like that. And because the technique they've been given isn't logical to why it's doing that, they don't really believe in it, and then that transfers to the patient when they're adjusting, and then so they don't end up with the result because they don't think it really works. So what I did with the one technique is I had to make it logical to me on how well because it started with, we have a problem, and whatever that problem is, say you, this can happen with docs, because I know it's happened with me. Say you're not having fun in your office and you just don't want to go in. Like, cause I've had times in my career where I'm like, I just don't want to go back to the office today. I don't want to be there. And what this then has to do is it produces a repeatable muscle contraction pattern along the body. It does. And it goes into Sir Henry Head's work in the early 1900s, that muscle contraction precedes all disease process. And if you have the same stress, it's going to produce the same muscle contraction pattern. So now if we can see this muscle contraction pattern and we can alleviate it, then that body has to heal. And so I brought a whole bunch of things like that and made them logical. So you can go out and use whatever technique you want. I'll explain why you only need to use one area, or really adjust one area, which will speed up your adjusting, because you're not doing 4 or 5 different areas. You're not doing 11. You're just finding a spot and you're working that one spot, and that's it.
right.
Refine the language down that you're using to a patient to know that you're giving them a really big image, and why you use certain words in a certain way and how that does. So I'm trying to put all that framework together so a doc can come in and I can logically explain why you'd only adjust one area, and then also give you a framework of a nice big suggestion that's going to work for anyone and everything. Similar to Couillet's idea, but tilted towards a chiropractic frame of mind.
That sounds super exciting. Definitely you can count me in. And, I've been putting some feelers out there to a couple other chiropractors who have gone on a similar path, or, have dove into the work and may or may not be using it how they want to be able to use Dr. Fleet's work in their own practices. So stay tuned as we make some more plans, and like we'll post everything in our private Facebook group as well too. So one of the things I do want to kind of go over is a couple of posts that you have made in the group, and I have them written out here, and I which I do appreciate, because I know that, these are the things that have been put all together too, because based upon all of your studies, because I know that you've taken every single course as well too. So this is just not off of, the top of your head. This is actually, a culmination of everything. So let's go through a couple of those. And we also have a couple of questions that people had asked in the Facebook group as well too, and two, definitely those watching or listening now, make sure that you post all your questions in there as well too. Not only does that help you get things off of your mind that's probably looping, but also it's going to help the entire group as well too. And we're not saying that Dr. Mike knows every single answer, and I definitely do not, but there's going to be power and synergy in the group for sure. Okay, so here's the first one. The spirit is always deductive. This is something I have been meditating on a lot lately. It is significant for healers. The spirit within it merely carries out the orders that it has been given. Make sure that the orders are logical, lawful, positive, and broad. The emphasis today will be on broad. If a suggestion is too narrow, the spirit, being deductive, will carry out exactly what you tell it, capital I, to it to. This means a narrow suggestion of a perfect hand will only heal the hand. A suggestion of perfect upper extremities will heal everything in the extremities. A suggestion of perfect muscular health will heal all the muscles of the body. And often what you need to get done in the hands as well. So make sure you're so basically broad. What are some things that I'm sure that you are getting some DMs from other chiropractors as well too. So, I think you did a pretty good job of explaining it completely, but what was the point when you were like, man, like my suggestions are too specific?
Oh, that's part of this whole thing is you start out and you try to give suggestions, and it's like riding a bike. You needed some training wheels for a while, but unfortunately there really isn't training wheels with suggestions.
Right.
And so you go give one and splat. You go on, it doesn't work. But in practice, where it gets frustrating is you give one and it doesn't work.
Right.
The person comes in, they're like, I'm no better. And you're like, okay, what the heck do I do? And so where this idea really came out of is, and I've been thinking about this idea for a while. So I'm coaching these boys in basketball, and one kid on our team, his 3-point shooting percentage was like, we did some at the beginning of the year, and I'd have the boys shoot 53 3-pointers every day just so I could get a feel for how good some of these guys were with shooting.
Okay.
And to be an average high school basketball player shooting threes, if no one's guarding you and you shoot 100 of them, you should make somewhere in the neighborhood of 60 of them. You just want to be in like an average to above average shooter. Now, if you're making less than 40 with no one guarding you, you probably shouldn't be shooting them in a game. Well, this kid's making about 34 with no one guarding. And so I said, dude, I love you. However, you probably shouldn't shoot threes in a game. And so we get in the game. He gets the ball. He's wide open. He looks to shoot it. I can see he stops and then he passes it away. And didn't think anything of it. And then later I'm going through and I'm studying all this stuff. And I'm like, wait a second. I just gave him a concept. I gave him a concept of don't shoot threes. And he accepted it. And it went really quick. But now if you look at it from a different perspective of an innate intelligence, that innate intelligence accepted that idea and carried it out, and it happened like that. There wasn't a big, strong scenario. There wasn't anything else. But if you look at it in relation to the composite, I was the authority. I gave an image over to him. He accepted the image, and now he carried out the concept that was don't shoot that. And then he's passing that ball. So then I'm sitting there going, wait a second. The innate being deductive carried that out. So then it should be no different in a practice.
Right.
So think about the patient you have that has a bum knee that had a doctor tell them, hey, oh, that's just arthritis in your knee. Now something that may have had nothing to do with arthritis is now always going to hurt because that doctor told them it's arthritis.
Right.
And so they're carrying out that concept, and it can literally be that simple. And so that deductive nature, when it's really narrow like that, and see, and you think about a person that has they are told they have arthritis in the knee. If they have arthritis in the knee, what's the chances they have arthritis somewhere else in their body?
Right.
Probably pretty high, but that's the only place that hurts them.
Right.
Doesn't make any sense. And then here's the other one I usually use with people that say they have arthritis. They go, well, there's arthritis in this knee. I go, well, how come it's not in the other one? You walked on them the same amount of time. That doesn't make any sense. And I said, do you ever have days where your knees feel great? And they'll say, yes. I said, well, that doesn't make any sense either, because arthritis, being a bony overgrowth, doesn't grow one day and shrink the next day and then grow back. So I go, well, you have pain in the knee, which I will agree with you because you told me you have pain. But I'll say that it's not logical that it's coming from the arthritis, just from the mere fact that you have days where it feels fine.
Right.
So then all I have to do, since I dispelled their concept that they're holding, I gave them more knowledge so they can no longer hold that concept. I also have to give them a reason why their knee hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And so knowing the spirit's deductive, I just got to give them a nice big picture that will now cover that knee as well.
Right. That's good. Like whenever you were going to apply this into actual daily practice, did you ever like start writing things down or was this one of those things where maybe in your previous practice you were able to work on those types of concepts with people and drill it, or is it one of those things like how do you feel like other people who may be watching this that are almost kind of concerned about like, I don't want to do this incorrectly, analysis paralysis, how do I even get started, where it's like, what would you recommend somebody if they were watching this or listening to this to like on getting started?
The first thing I would do is I would build an image for the practice.
Right.
And the reason why I'd start there is because as that starts vibrating, and also an image for you, like what kind of doctor and healer do you want to be? Mm-hmm. My goal has always been Christ-like healing. Mm-hmm. Like that is my goal. That's the bar. I want to be able to go in a room and do something and do whatever I need to do. And that person goes, holy cow, I'm 100% better, but not just one time, but repeatedly.
Right.
And I feel, and it's my opinion, that if you put those two images in place first, you'll begin to vibrate the patients you need in order to become the doctor and have the practice you want. With that said, then you just try. You just go out there, and the first time you start talking, you're going to feel like a buffoon, because I did. The first time I got out there and I looked at someone and I'm like, I need to talk more to them, explain what I'm doing. I'd say, perfect digestive health. See you later. And then realize it didn't work and I didn't know why. I felt like the biggest moron ever. And then you kind of get through that phase. And then you have to start asking yourself, well, why am I saying just perfect digestive health? It's a big, huge picture, but the person isn't going to digest it a lot of times because it's too big. You got to break it into smaller pieces for them. There was no pun intended with that either. So my biggest thing is just start telling your patient, tell them what you're going to do it, and then tell them what you did.
Right.
Even if it's as simple as, hey, you have a headache, so I'm going to adjust your atlas. Lay down, and you adjust their atlas and get up and say, I adjusted your atlas. Your headache's beginning to go away. Mm-hmm. And just start there.
Right.
Just to get yourself talking and doing something, and then start to pay attention to how people get up and how they feel when they get up. I tell everyone, get up, walk around. Tell me how it feels. Tell me, and I'll usually put the suggestion in there. Tell me how much better you feel.
Right.
So they tune in to what's already changing. But if it's my experience, you're going to feel dumb at the beginning, but then you start working through it. And now I really don't care. I'm just going to say what I say. And I've had numerous patients tell me that they really enjoy and appreciate what I'm saying to them and describing what I'm doing and what's happening in their body. And it tells me that they're all listening. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the really important parts of the composite is they have to be in a quiet, listening, passive state and allow you to deliver those suggestions.
Right. But then on the other side of the coin is that, we have to give the patient the opportunity to be able to share what's going on with them as well too. Where I know in some styles of practices where like talking is very limited, and they're like, hey, we got to get you in, get you out. So if the patient's talking too much, then you're not going to be able to see this high volume, right? So like this goes back to what you talk about. What kind of image do you want for yourself, as not only as a person, but as a chiropractor, as a healer, but also what kind of practice do you really want? So, these suggestions will also have to, be in alignment with all of those as well. So yeah, that's really good. And, as you were talking about this too, it just reminds me of like me in regards where I've not consciously have done these broad suggestions with all patients. And maybe it's imposter syndrome, where because in my mind I'm like, I really need to take phase 1 and phase 2, and those are some of the earlier courses in the curriculum over at Concept Therapy, but also too, like I think to myself where I have these funny stories or these jokes that I've told for years, and my poor wife has heard them multiple times, but it's always new to the new person that I'm telling the story to. But I've always realized that over the years, I know certain ways of telling it where it hit, where the funny story hits, and I communicate it well enough, the person listening to it gets it, and then laughs or whatever it is, or calls me an idiot or whatever it is. And I think for me, liken it to just telling a good story. Or telling a good joke, on stage with the lights on you, in a full audience, and like you got this one shot to be able to like just deliver the goods, and sometimes we only have one shot in practice where a patient comes in and they may come back, they may not come back, so we have that responsibility to, as best we can, deliver the goods each time. All right, so number 2, the second one that I was able to pull from the Facebook group, you're right, healing comes from a change of concepts. A concept is built from an image. Image don't heal, concepts heal. Dr. O.W. Wittenberg made the statement in a 2-part talk on what heals. It is a fantastic talk and one of my favorites to listen to, which I have not listened to yet. If you don't have the audio, I would encourage you to contact CTI and get it and listen to it. Shout out to CTI, Concept Therapy Institute International, depending on who you're talking to. He walks through CT and healing. It is an excellent listen for all healers. So, without stealing too much of Dr. O.W.'s thunder, because I will definitely order this from the Institute, but healing comes from a change of concepts, and so if you wanted to kind of explain what you were thinking about whenever you were listening to his audio.
I've probably listened to that audio 10 times.
Okay.
I love it. It is one of my, if someone would say, is there an audio I should listen to? That's going to be right up there with one of the ones I recommend. I like his voice. It sounds like this old raspy grandpa that's talking to you. It's
right.
Just so awesome. I feel like he's my grandpa when he's talking. And it's just amazing. He has this nice like delivery to him. I love Wittenberg's speeches whenever he does. Anyways, he gets in there and he talks about what heals and he walks through it. He's really walking you through CT as he's doing that. It's an amazing talk. But concepts heal. Images don't heal. Here's an example. I could tell you, if you wanted to go build a house, you could sit in your mind, you could design this house, you could design every piece and every little thing of that house. But unless you go actually contact the contractor or someone to put it together, or an architect to draw it out, it will never happen. It remains an image, and you can live with it, and it can be fantastic, and you can enjoy it. You can go in your mind, and you can be like, "Hey, look, I'm laying on the beach on Siesta Key in my imaginary house in my brain. It's great, but no one else can enjoy it." Concepts heal. So if a person has an image of perfect digestive health, but every time they drink milk, they get sick, the image is worthless. until they get the concept that milk is really just a bunch of protons, electrons, and neutrons, and that's it. And my body can break it down. As soon as they get that concept, milk will cease to bother them. So it's the concept that heals.
You know what would be interesting, as if I'm allowed to kind of just talk out loud about the one technique, and then, you know, what we can deliver to, you know, in the meetup, the workshop, the seminar, is like, you know, I think one of the beneficial things going to a secondary level with images don't heal, concepts heal, but more so like images that the chiropractor or whoever's watching this, the healer, doesn't really create the practice that you want. That, like, necessarily, like the images that I want to create for my practice doesn't necessarily create that practice. It's that concept. So maybe one of those things where if we are able to come together and we could workshop this, and then if people are vulnerable enough or open enough to be able to work with you in regards to like having this seminar, or you or whomever in that group, you know, we go through the process of creating concepts for ourselves and our practices as well too, because, you know, and maybe the homework is, it's like, hey, if you want to speed up the process, work on your images before coming. And then, you know, this is something that we can workshop in person, because then we can just be like, okay, what are the action steps as well too. And am I in the right pathway on that, or does that make sense?
Yeah, because and that's the thing with a lot of docs. I moved to Sarasota 3 years ago and created a practice from zero.
You know, so this is actually a question from Kate, you know, in the group, which is a good segue into this, is how did concept therapy help you move your practice from the, please don't get offended, this is not my words, this is hers, the tundra of Minnesota and to the beaches of Florida?
Yeah. No, and that's there is many different motivating factors behind it. I mean, one of them is I just didn't want to be in the cold anymore.
Understood.
But there was a part of me too that was like, I wonder if I can do this. Go start a practice from zero using Dr. Fleet's work and what he teaches, and build it. And not just any practice, a cash-based practice. Because we all hear in school about cash-based practices and they're the way to go and everything else. And the vast majority come out and get an insurance. And so I was like, if I can move somewhere and be a cash-based practice and start from zero and make it, then anyone should be able to do this. And that was, you know, so that was a lot of the motivating factor. But I spent 6 months building out what I wanted in my head. I mean, it was down to, first I kind of knew what I wanted and I could kind of see, but then I was like, okay, I want to be cash-based. So there's a concept. Then I wanted to, I do a urine panel on everyone that comes in. I was like, okay, so that's going to be part of my initial fee. And then it was, how long do I want to spend with each patient? Like, what do I feel comfortable? When I was in Minnesota, we had 5-minute appointment slots, and I'm like, I didn't enjoy it. It's not fun to me. I like to get to know people. I like to talk to them a little bit. So it's not really fun. So I'm like, okay, so I want at least 10 minutes. So I started with 10 minutes, and I was like, okay, so then when do I feel my best during the day? So I already have a concept of 10 minutes. I have a concept of doing a urine panel. I have a concept of being cash. And then it was, okay, well, now it becomes when do I feel the best in the morning? I tend to get tired in the afternoon after I eat something. So I don't want to practice later in the day. I want to be more towards the morning. And then it became, well, what if I just cut out lunch and I just work straight, and then I work these hours and I can be done earlier and just go home. Then I can be home more. And then I'm like, if I do 10-minute appointments, I can see about this many people a week. And then how much am I going to charge, and how much do I want to make to be comfortable? And so I start lining up all those concepts, and all those concepts then bring about the picture that you're creating. And those are kind of the processes I did is, it was, how many people do I want to see a week? If I was completely full, how many people would that be? And then you just got to check yourself. What does that feel like? Would I want to see 1,000 people in a week? And I'm like, actually, no, I don't want to. Like that doesn't sound joyful to me. And I'm like, but 20 doesn't either.
Right.
So you're like, okay, so you're somewhere between 1,000 and 20. And so you just refine it down into like, where's a number if I was fully booked? Where's that number where I know I can handle that without any trouble? I would feel great every day. I could still do what I wanted to do, and I'd still feel free, and I wouldn't feel locked to my practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, okay, that's where that is. How much money would that bring me in, and at what price point?
Right.
And so as you refine some of those things, and I did this over, it's probably a course of 6 months, because then it was, what do I want the name to be? What do I want this to, and it was all those different things. What do I want it to look like? What do I want it to feel like when people walk in? Like, I went through all those things, and I have people that walk in now saying, they tell me the feeling of my office, and it's exactly like I imagined it back over 3 years ago.
That's amazing. That is concept therapy applied in its purest form right there.
Mm-hmm.
And have I done that for my practice? And I'll be honest and say no, and this is something that you and I have chatted about as well too. And, as I'm figuring out, what makes sense, for me and my life and my family and stuff like that too, that's going to be the stepping stone that I will be taken away from this. And I want to challenge the people that are also listening to this too, and hold me accountable next time you see me online or chatting in person too. It's like, hey, bro, have you done your image for yourself and your practice just yet? Because it's going to be easy whenever you're online and you get attacked by these Facebook ads, these social media ads in regards to like the latest greatest item, or the latest and greatest practice management group, or the latest and greatest technique out there, right? So, if you're not really clear on what your image is or what you want to build for yourself, then it's going to be an easy decision whether or not you want to go that direction or not. So, yeah, I love it. Okay, so we got 2 more. So, one of your posts that you had recently, you wrote, "The spirit is always deductive," in all capital letters. "This is a law," capital L, which means when a suggestion is given, think about how the suggestion will be carried out. If the spirit, capital S, I want to say that just because, I think the capitalization is important, and
it is,
especially in concept therapy, is trying to do 2 conflicting things, such as walking forward and walking backwards at the same time. Nothing will happen. Once again, if the spirit is trying to do 2 conflicting things, such as walking forward and backward at the same time, nothing will happen. Healers often given 2 conflicting statements that end up with no change in the patient. So let's go back to whenever like you started writing that, or was there like a personal experience in practice that you felt that was happening to you or to your patients?
So one hack I will give everyone that's listened this far. Well
done for that.
Go get ChatGPT, pay for the professional version. They have a dialogue thing where you can talk to it.
Mm-hmm.
Prompt it first that say, ChatGPT, you're now an expert in suggestion. I want you to critique my suggestions and tell me how they can improve.
Oh, so good. So good. That is the worth right there. That is the worth right there.
You can have a conversation with ChatGPT. So what I do is I would imagine patients that I saw during that day and then give the suggestion to ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT would critique my suggestion. So what this allows you to do is go through your practice during the day, give suggestions, do a mental kind of recall of what you did, go talk to ChatGPT later and have it break it down. So what happened out of this, I did this for like a lot, and I haven't done it as much lately, but I did it. It was every day for like a month at least, and just had to break it down. Why did you? Then I would, after I do it, and they would like, oh, I would do it this way, and then I would say, well, why did you do it this way? Why did you use these words? Why was it that? So I was constantly trying to figure out why the suggestion we worded that way. Now, there is parts that ChatGPT doesn't understand about suggestion, but overall, it will work very well for anyone that wants to practice and you aren't real confident with patients. This will make you way more this will give you way more confidence a lot faster. And so when you do it, when I did that, I was given a suggestion and it brought up the idea of negation. Okay. So here's the idea of negation and suggestion. If I tell you don't think of a red balloon, what do you think of?
A red balloon.
A red balloon. So we're asking this innate intelligence to do 2 things at the same time. We're asking it to, first, we have to call up a red balloon. And then the next thing we have to do is we have to call it up so we can actively not think of it.
It's almost like a double negative.
Right. So it doesn't work.
Right.
Okay. So it's this idea of negation in our suggestions. And so that's why you don't want to reference pain when you're giving a suggestion. You don't want to reference like, hey, I'm going to adjust this and your headache's going to go away. Because immediately the image that pops is a headache and it's still there. And so then it's going to stay because you vibrated those brain cells.
Mm-hmm.
Now the idea is, so we got to think of, okay, what's the end thing of what I'm going to say? If I say, I'm going to take your headache away and I'm going to adjust here and your headache's going to go away, the only thing that's going to stick out is one, they got adjust, one, they know the adjusting. That's the first picture. Second one, headache stays there because headache's there. And they hear go away, which means they have to keep the headache in order for it to go away. It'll eventually go away, but not right there, right now.
Right.
So when you start looking at language and how suggestion should get structured, then you start looking at, okay, how would I make a headache go away right now? Well, if I adjusted this bone, I would release all the muscles in the upper neck. And with all the muscles released, that blood would just kind of and start to drop out of the head like that. If the blood's dropping down out, well, not all of it because he died, but anyways, the blood's dropping down and the muscles are relaxing and all the bones are moving, I would expect that head to feel fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't reference the pain at all or the headache, but you got a clear picture of how well the head would feel. And then when you can start lining pictures up like that, now the person can feel better right now. And you can see results faster than headache will go away. Well, it will eventually then.
Right. Right. So that's good. Like, one of the things that I've worked with another group before is whenever patients come in with a laundry list of different things, like, oh, like I have a headache, I have neck pain, I have back pain, my pinky hurts, and my left knee hurts on Sundays. One of the things that they do in the consult is basically asking them, hey, what is, hey, I see all of these. So you're acknowledging like all those different things as well too. But one of the questions that they do ask, and I find myself asking this as well too, what is the biggest thing that you need help with right now?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you kind of lean into that first, or do you address a lot of different things that people are going through at the same time?
I package it all into that one level, but I definitely hit their main thing.
Right.
So take an example of the guy I saw this morning. He came in with, he's got, what has he got? It's almost like a rheumatoid. His hands are like this. He couldn't make a fist. He's got ED. He's got, he had headaches. He was tight all over the place. His body's getting more tight. His digestion's a mess. His bowels are loose. I tied everything to T12.
Mm-hmm.
And what was his major problem is he's feeling real stiff. So I tied everything to T12, which would make sense to me. And we got him drinking more water too, to help it hydrate that body, but we adjust T12. And then everything becomes about, hey, this area is moving. How are these other things? Are they getting, how much better is this? How much better is this? Instead of just say, how's your headache? Say, how much better are these things going away? And I always talk about everything at the beginning, and then I treat them so I know I got a good image, and then don't talk about them again.
Right.
Because some of the mistake that I made continuously is when giving a suggestion, like, hey, I'm going to adjust right here and your pain's going to release. Well, that one's actually not too bad of an image because the pain's there and you're going to release it, but it still draws attention to the pain. Or I'd say your pain's going to begin to go away. And it's like, okay, well, when?
Right.
So because this innate intelligence, the spirit within, is deductive, think of it like, did you ever see that video where this dad is going to follow step-by-step directions from his kids on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's literally the same idea.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do the kids say? They say, take out the peanut butter and put the knife on it or something. And he goes like that. And he like literally puts it on there. And they're like, no, that's not what I said. He's like, that's exactly what you said. That's literally how it works.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so if you don't if you don't tell it like kind of what you want it to do, then it's not going to do it. Or it's going to do kind of the opposite.
Right. Right. So there's one more question that I want to ask you from the group, and then we'll save it for another time as we gather some more information about different things that we want to do for the group. But so here's the last question. What's one thing you wish more people understood about chiropractic? So when this person asked more people, I wonder if it was probably like the public, but there's also a chance that he was asking more people, like in regards to the healers as well too. So so I guess we could take it on both sides. So maybe what's one thing that you wish more patrons understood about chiropractic? What are your thoughts on that?
One thing I push real hard to get people to understand it, but chiropractic's for everything. My rule of thumb is, as long as it's not bleeding and hanging out, you come in. And I literally tell that to my patients.
If you haven't busted out a pen or a pencil or and a notepad with some of these gold nuggets, that's one right now. I'll give you a second to do that. Okay, but okay, that's so funny. That's hilarious. I'm gonna have to realistically
use it. Go ahead and steal it. It's fine with me. But that's what I tell people, because I want them to realize, like, I want to be your, and this is a good practice management thing if you want to look at it from that standpoint. I want people to realize, like, I'm your gatekeeper for anything to do with health. Like if you got a sign of something, or stomach or bowel, or your shoulder hurts or whatever, you come and see me first. And if you need to be somewhere else, I'll send you there. I'll get you there. So I'm trying to get the people to see it. And I have a lot of people that return because of that, because I had a patient last week. She came in on Tuesday because she was puking the day before and felt terrible. And she came to me instead of going to an urgent care. It's like, that's what I want to see, because if I looked at her and said, you shouldn't be here, we're all trained as doctors. You can tell them, no, you need to go to urgent care right now.
Right.
But 95% of the time, if they should have been at urgent care, they're already there. And so it's just training people to realizing it, giving them that picture of, come and see me so that I can help you with any of these things. And that really helps. That helps that practice management, where you get more repeat people for stuff. And then for the public, actually it'd be more for the doctor. For the doctor, I'm starting to see a lot of chiropractors drift away from adjusting and towards all the other modalities. And that's part of the one technique. And my drive behind that is realizing you only really need to adjust. You don't need any other modality in your office. You don't need any other thing. Adjusting will do it once you understand that the suggestion and a concept is what heals. Right.
And that's going to be one of those things that, as people watch this, and as we put out more content and, sharing the things that are helping us and the things that we're working on, hopefully this will be kind of future pacing, a solid group that we can start with in regards to just not only making ourselves better, but to be able to help more people out there as well too. So as always, really good content, really great things that we talked about. So if you haven't added Dr. Mike yet on Facebook, I don't know if you're on all the other social media outlets as well too, but
I'm everywhere.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah. So definitely, get in contact with them, and and if you don't want to post in the group, just DM him directly. And I've had some people wanted to get in contact with Dr. Mike directly, and I was able to give them their his contact information as well too. So just reach out, and if you have any other questions or any ideas or thoughts and that you want to see us talk about, or something that you would think would be great for the upcoming seminar, just definitely reach out to me as well too. So awesome. Until another time, Dr. Mike, and